Okay, live.
Thanks, Joey. All right, everybody ready? All right. Well, I would like to call to order the April Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education meeting, and thank you all for joining in from all of our homes. Um, we're just going to go ahead and get started. Obviously, it's time for citizens to speak, but there's no citizens joining us, so we'll just skip on to that. And we're going to go ahead and move to the approve the consent and regular agenda. So can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments on the agenda? A lot of housekeeping. All right. So hearing none, item on the floor is to approve the consent and regular agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. All right. Dr. Gardenauer?
Okay, thank you all for being willing to work with us and virtually meet. We really appreciate that. And thanks that we have the technology now to also share this with our community. It's truly an amazing time. You know, we've learned a lot during the last month. It's been, there have been some difficult times, but there's also been a lot of bright spots, especially one of the large bright spots is how our faculty and staff have rallied around our students to try to make the leap to at-home learning happen. And we had a good start on things, but we also have had to adapt a lot and listen to a lot of feedback from families to make sure that we're trying to give them what they need during this time and to continue online learning, even though the school buildings are shut down. There's a couple special thank yous I want to make this evening. First of all, I want to thank the board for continuing to be behind our employees because there was a lot of nervousness and a lot of apprehension going into this crisis, but the governor and local officials, our city council, and our school board have stood behind those employees to make sure that they felt comfortable and they felt that they were going to be able to do their jobs even at a distance. So I appreciate all of you for supporting them. I want to say a special thank you to Regina Isaacs. And people really don't know how much time and effort she's put in. She's driven all over the place to find resources to make sure that we had what we needed to feed our children. She's organized a feeding program, which is very successful. We're feeding between 4,000 and 5,000 meals a week. And she's even interested in doing a summer feeding program. And that we received information from the State Department today that they will be funding summer feeding for us, but she wanted to do it before then. She felt that this is something that she wanted to do for our people. So we're going to continue that work and just really thankful to her for all the late nights. She's stayed and ordered food and made sure everything came in, and we have not missed a day of feeding for our students. I wanted to say a quick thank you to our city council for, we had some question whether our bond issue was going to go through, and there were some concerns last month about the bond market being so topsy-turvy right now, but our city council made a great choice in going ahead, and we received an excellent bond rating, and which means that it yielded quite a bit and is going to allow us to be able to complete the project at TA Duggar, the current project we have. And those funds arrived this week. So we're happy to have those to be ready. And with that, Mr. Weems is working full time on our hardening of entrances project with the COPS grant, part of the COPS grant. And he's also working very hard and diligently on our roofing and internal renovations at TA Duggar. So we're hoping to be able to keep with our time frame and be able to start this summer and get those done. Our COPS grant, the other side of the grant, the major portion of the access control cameras and all those types of things, they are underway now. They're working right now trying to look at wire and look at what we need to do to improve where we are for our school buildings. It's been great because they can pretty much work all the time. They're not interrupting anything going on with school right now. So it's been a good opportunity for them to get to work. And we're getting ready to purchase some of the equipment out of the grant, which has already been approved. We have a invoice for about $90,000 for the first installment. And we've been working on getting all the financials done for that. So we're in great shape there. The stimulus money that we have coming in, as I sent out to you all, the stimulus money was somewhere around $631,000. That will be coming in and going to into a grant application. Mr. Hutchins, it's a federal grant application, so he's going to be working with that with me and along with Miss Wilson. And we're going to try to earmark our money for some specific things. First of all, 20% of the grant can be spent at the end of this year to help us get through expenses we've already incurred. And we're going to use that to help us pay our food service and make sure that that's up and going, knowing that we're going into the summer feeding program. We will be able to receive more funds, possibly from the governor's discretionary money to help with food service. But we want to make sure that we have it there to pay our employees since they're not bringing any reimbursement money in right now. We're in some way, shape, or form, I think that the government will require us to have something that we're doing to catch kids up from the time that they've been out of school. I anticipate that coming. I haven't seen the grant application yet, but I anticipate based on conference calls that that will be a part of it. The other thing is we will be looking at how can we solidify our online presence for students. And so that will mean probably some of the money probably will go for technology and the rest of it will go for salaries to help us make sure that we maintain that over the next year. So the money we'll receive, we've told that the application process, after it's finished and vetted by the State Department, it will come to us and then we will have a 2-week period after we send our plan in that it will be approved. So help is on the way, and for expenses, especially with food service that we've had incurred already, and we feel like we can use that. But the plan will be sent to the board for approval, and we will try to make sure you're aware of exactly how we're spending all the money to make sure we take care of our children. Next month, we will have a slim budget coming to you all. That's done on purpose. That's been all the guidance we've received from the State Department is that we need to make a pretty slim budget for this coming year, because even though we'll have stimulus this coming year, we also have to look at the year after. That's really when we're trying to do a lot of the things that we're doing possibly right now, knowing that we don't have those stimulus dollars to help back that up. There could be a shortfall then. So we're going to try to spend it wisely and make sure that we have enough to carry us through that. But the slim budget, we haven't added anything to the budget for this year. Just any extras, we haven't added those in. And as this unfolds and we have more information about what we need to do, we'll maybe loosen that up and we'll talk about, we can do amendments throughout the year and move money around if we need to fund things. But I felt like that's probably the best thing for us to do right now. Ms. Wilson agrees with that. We anticipate that we have a frequently asked questions. Our curriculum team has been working on that, but we had it ready to go out today. However, we've received word that the State Department will be making some changes on May 1st. So we're going to wait, especially with grading. So we were going to wait until May 1st to be able to see what the changes are before we send that out, so it's not confusing to parents. But I want to thank our curriculum team for working on that. They've done a good job on that. We anticipate coming up that another May 1st is going to be licensure and tenure guidance. And so we will likely grant tenure during this this semester for folks who qualified just because of the situation where nothing can really negatively or adversely impact anyone during this time. So we'll be reevaluating that and bringing a tenure list to you next month for your approval. There's not anyone we have questions about, but the tenure guidance right now is that folks who are up for tenure, obviously this year's scores will not be a part of that. It could be based on the fact that we've had even though we had some scores last year, we've had testing be kind of hit or miss in there. So the state board is going to figure that out and give us guidance. But I would anticipate that it will look something like, looking back over the last 2 years that they've had scores, if they're eligible for tenure, did they have a 4 or a 5 in that time frame? And if they did, then that would be something for us to be able to grant tenure. But we should receive the official word and document May 1st, and then we'll send that out to you so you can look that over before that. Again, we had 2 folks on the tenure list that probably would not meet the scores to be able to do that, but we want to make sure it aligns before we put them on the list or not for this year. If not, they could possibly wait till next year until we had scores. We're anticipating a return to work. We're following the governor's guidance right now. We're also depending on the CDC, the local folks in our area, to help us make decisions about what we need to do to return to work. Right now, we have people working on although teachers are working every day, we have administrative staff working at home, and they will eventually come back to the central office. We're going to be doing that. They're on a rotation right now of every 5 days, but we're going to probably move to every 3 days and then move it back to us having that. But we have to see what happens with if there's when people return to work, if there's another COVID outbreak or they see an increase in infection, then we'll change our plan. But that's our plan right now, is to have folks, excuse me, come back to work April 30th on a more regular schedule and not be telecommuting as much. One thing I wanted to just ask the board to consider that we could put on for next month is we have had folks request, many that are having difficulty based on the situation that they had a family member lose a job, or they're having financial difficulty. Maybe both members of the family have lost their job or are furloughed right now, about tuition for the April payment. Now, what I'm going to suggest to the board, something for you all to think about for next month, is if we could just extend that until the end of June for them to be able to keep their spot for that April payment, extend it to where that, and for them to be able to return next year, that they would have to make that payment before they came back to school to keep their spot. That would give us plenty of time to make that determination and keep their spot if they were able to do that. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with that situation, but I at least want the board to think about that, something for us to study. But that has been a request of me several times from parents who are just not back to work right now and could use a little bit more time to be able to do that. My suggestion also is we have city taxpayers who are paying their taxes, and we have had a lot of people who are paying, have paid tuition at the very beginning of the semester. And I think we need to be fair to them by requiring that holds your spot, that tuition requirement would be fulfilled. But it may be, in light of things, just a consideration to give people a little bit more time. And so if you all think about that, we can bring that back up next month. I want to give you an update on the STEM Lab project. I can't wait till social distancing's over and I can bring you in there to see it's really a classy place. It looks fantastic. We are still about 3 weeks away from having the doors that we need. They stopped manufacturing of the doors we need, the fire rated doors. Once they're in, it will be essentially complete. Uh, we are on our side as far as we're moving very quickly on the hallway and the 2 classrooms that we had to do to please the fire marshal. But it is really looking great. And we can't wait to be able to open that for students. The baseball hitting facility, we're still working with Reedy and Sykes on that, and that is moving forward. I had a conversation with the mayor about that recently, and I feel we're moving forward with that. And so we'll be looking at more information coming up. I at least want to have the complete plan. Star Buildings is giving us a part of that, and I think they may not be working right now, or they're slow right now. So we're waiting on that to be able to move forward with the plans, but they are definitely far along, and we're happy that that's going to be also moving forward. The last thing I sent out to you today, just as a FYI, is our plan for graduation and Honors Day. And we're going to try to do some things for students on the 23rd, knowing that we would try to come back in the summer. We're going to try to look at a July 18th date for an actual ceremony, but we wanted to do something for them on their graduation day. I sent a document to you that will go to parents tonight talking about that, but I wanted you all to be informed about our plan and want to make sure that the public knew that we've been working on that for weeks. But Mr. Minton, I think Eddie made a suggestion back during the time that we ask our students, let's talk with students and see what they would like to do. And, so Mr. Minton took it upon himself to formulate the Chick-fil-A leadership team. And he met with a lot of seniors and just talked to them about what was special to them, what was important to them. And then he came back with a survey this past week, everyone knowing, what options there might be. They sent out a survey to students and received, and this was after the first day, but they had about 120 responses so we have a good representative portion of that. And so from that, we're making, he's working on a plan. So I sent that to you to take a look at. I think they're going to try to utilize the drive-in and do something where they show the accolades of each student and also get a picture of them and a video of them in their cap and gown. And we're going to do that individually to make sure that we keep with social distancing and do that. At this point, we asked this week on our CDC call whether there was even an option of us looking in the next couple months. They felt that there would be any opportunity to meet in a large group. The answer is definitely probably not. And so a lot of parents have asked that question, can we just go ahead with graduation, get it over with, because there's people planning vacations and things like that. And the answer to that is, I don't believe we're going to be there. So our best bet was to try to do something about the 3rd week of July before a lot of students get moving out. We don't know what the participation will be at that late date, but we wanted to try to at least schedule something if we could possibly have it. So now, of course, if things change in a dramatic way, there's a cure found and we're in great shape. I think that we would come back and look at that again, but that's kind of our plan. And we plan to send that out to students today. And that was a long report, but it's been a long month. We've had a lot going on, and but I do appreciate our community. And I know it's been frustrating for parents and it's been, frustrating for us, but our people have made the difference. Thank you.
All right. Dr. G, also thank you and the central office staff for just keeping everything going. And I know you talked to a lot of the other directors of schools, but none of us, we all know none of this would be happening if you weren't running the ship. And so thank you very much. you're doing a great job and the staff's doing a great job. So
They
a
are.
million thank yous.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any reports? You been anywhere? Anything? Didn't think so. All right. How about let's go ahead and get started on the first item on the regular agenda. First item is to approve on first reading Board Policy 1.8011, emergency closing as revised. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, this policy gives us the opportunity to close schools, and more particularly allows us to pay people if they are not on site at work.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. Item on the floor, approve on first reading Board Policy 1.8011, emergency closing as revised. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Oops, sorry, I jumped up. Hang on. Approve on first reading Board Policy 1.8011.3, employee designations during emergency closure. Can I get a motion to approve?
So
Motion
moved.
to approve. Second.
Thank you.
Okay, this policy for the emergency employee designation allows the director to establish who is essential personnel during the closure. And so it gives us the opportunity to try to say certain people will be teleworking, certain people are working off site, and then certain people are essential to come to work.
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Item on the floor, approve on first reading Board Policy 1.8011.3, employee designations during emergency closure. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve on first reading Board Policy 5.1151, telework during emergencies. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the opportunity for folks to telework at home and gives us the opportunity to take care of that during emergencies.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Item on the floor, approve on first reading Board Policy 5.1151, telework during emergencies. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Felicia, are you doing okay on getting all of this? Okay. Next item, approve the TSBA district policy manual maintenance and online service agreement in the amount of $3,500 to be paid annually for 3 years for a total of $10,500. Can I get a motion to approve?
Definitely moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This agreement allows us to be able to annually look at our policy maintenance service. It's a housekeeping item, but it is very beneficial, including one of the major resolutions that came tonight came from our policy service. So we appreciate them doing all the legal work behind getting those together and making sure that we're informed about how we take care of it. In this specific instance is the CARES Act.
Can't imagine doing this without them.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, item on the floor, approve the TSBA district policy manual maintenance and online service agreement in the amount of $3,500 to be paid annually for 3 years for a total of $10,500. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve suspension of board policy 5.301, vacations and holiday. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two, E and F, are both for the same reason. We were looking at the prospect of having to pay employees out for unused leave that they had for the year. And during this time, what we would have to do that it would really put a large cash burden on the school system. So what we have decided to do is try to, and we've talked with our attorney, with Miss Owen about it, and we've decided, along with a lot of other school systems, to suspend those policies right now to allow people to carry over any unused leave that they can't use right now into the next school year, so they could possibly be able to use that leave. Now we will have be inconvenienced by that, possibly, with the fact that we may not have staff here at certain times. But I think it's something that everyone is going to be doing, and felt that that's probably the best way for us to move forward, was suspend those. And then we can reevaluate that when we come back at July 1st of the following year of 2021. We can reevaluate that, hoping that people were able to use their leave.
Rita, can I amend my motion to include that we vote on 7E and F together since they're both the same?
Sure. Do we need a second for that?
Yes.
Can I get a second that we'll vote on these together?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Grover. Anybody have any questions or comments on these two? All right. Hearing none, item on the floor is to approve suspension of board policy 5.301, vacations and holiday, and suspension of board policy 5.303, personal and professional leave. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, so thank you, Grover. We can skip on down. All right. Next one is approve board policy 5.3051 FFCRA leave, first reading. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
In second?
Second.
Thank you.
This particular, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act is something that's come into law to protect employees who possibly may contract COVID-19. And so we have to offer paid sick leave and extended FMLA for folks. And so this policy outlines the procedures we need to use to make sure that, number one, the people who may contract it are safe, and number two, that all the other folks within the school system would be safe.
Any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none, item on the floor, approve new board policy 5.3051 FFCRA leave, first reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve the annual service agreement renewal with Train for 1 year in the amount of $15,161 beginning April 1, 2020. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This is our annual maintenance agreement that we have with Train. It's good for 1 year, and we do it, but it saves us a lot of money. And last year was an absolute example of that. When we had something go down, if we're under the maintenance agreement, we can buy those parts at a special price, and they help us with the labor and installation if we're doing that. So and they do. Another thing that's great about it is they come right away and try to make sure our kids are comfortable. So this service agreement looks at anything that we need to do throughout the year with Train. We definitely get our money's worth.
Any questions or comments?
Only that they've saved us a ton of money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100,000 a year, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we had just in one job last year, it was about $20,000 just on one replacement job. So they came out and helped us over here on McCormick, so it was huge.
Anybody else? All right. Item on the floor, approve the annual service agreement renewal with Train for 1 year in the amount of $15,161 beginning April 1, 2020. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item, approve a resolution for the emergency suspension of board policies during the COVID-19 pandemic, effective only for the 19-20 school year. Those school board policies are policy 4.600 grading system, policy 4.605 graduation requirements, policy 4.700 testing program, policy 5.109 evaluation, policy 5.802 qualifications and duties of the director of schools, and policy 6.200 attendance. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, this particular item has a lot to it. I'll try to go through it very quickly. But I want to say, you know, our grading system, one of the big conditions was that after that March 20th date, we wouldn't have anyone be adversely affected by grades after that. So we've had a couple interesting things I think that will be answered in this next grading document that comes out on or about May 1st. But we will be putting information out to families there. The one big concern we had was, what are we going to do with folks who are attending versus not attending school? Quote, attending school. Even though attendance is waived, we still are trying to keep online learning going, as the commissioner has asked us to do, and the governor. So we tried to devise a plan where we would have them coming in worried about that third 9 weeks, trying to finish that out correctly. And then the fourth 9 weeks we know is completely, there's nothing that will be held against them there. We just need to make that transition between the two. So if students, basically, if they come on and do anything, you know, during that time and they've attended it all, they're going to receive, you know, 100%, you know, to move forward, because we can't hold anything adversely against them. But if they start, let's say that they had a grade as of March 20th, and let's say the grade was a 75, they would have an opportunity working with the teachers to be able to improve that grade from March 20th to the end of the year to put themselves in a better position. It just couldn't hurt them during that time. So the way we've looked at it is we're doing enrichment, trying to help our students. They can't go lower than they were, but they can work on and through the end to improve their grade. Graduation requirements, one of the things we're going to put out, and one of the things that we'll talk to the board, although the state diploma goes down from 22 to 20, and then we have made a decision to try to look at the Elizabethton High School diploma from 28 to 24 credits. And that is in line with what the state board has come out to tell us. So they've reduced the requirements for social studies. So we still have to have 4 maths, 4 English, 3 science, and 2 social studies. Now, we do have some students, we've looked at our total number of students and where they are. We had some students as of March 20th that were in trouble for failure of classes even in their senior year. So we're working with those. Our teachers at the high school are working with those students to help them bring their grades up to be able to pass for the end of the semester. However, that's the most reasonable. All the superintendents in our area are doing the same thing. We tried to stay together. So we met 2 weeks ago and talked about what was reasonable, and that's what we all came up with. So that's what Bristol, you know, all the city school systems around us, there are 2 that were not represented, but 15 of the 17 are doing something similar to that. The other thing I would like to say is, of course, testing has been, we don't have any end of course testing, TCAP testing, or semester exams. We've canceled all of those, and that will be a part of the policy moving forward. ACT is just a little different. This, you know, trying to look at that, we looked at giving a fall administration for seniors and juniors of ACT to make sure that the state board and the governor through our conference calls and the commissioner have said that they would help us financially in the fall, knowing how we're moving forward. That was in the budget to make sure that we were able to have that. Otherwise, we would have to bear the entire cost ourselves, and we felt that that was probably not a good move right now. The last part, or the last two, is we will not adversely hold any attendance against any children at this point. If they were in truancy review, all of that has stopped for the school year, obviously. And then there's qualifications for the director of schools. That's another one in this one. And that gives me a little bit more time if we had a situation where we had a discipline issue with an employee. It gives me a little bit more flexibility and time. Normally I have 30 days to report that to the state board, but they're loosening that restriction to give us a little bit more time if I needed it. So that's the entire resolution.
Questions or comments?
Dr. Gardner,
Yes.
do you know if anybody has asked if they do approve the fall junior senior testing?
Yes.
Those seniors are then kind of shorted. I think one test that would have been provided, they still provide the senior test day. Like you're not used to, you'd take it in the spring of your junior year, and then you could do a retake. So I just wonder if there's any consideration of maybe doing a spring retake for the seniors next year. They'd still get their two times.
Yes. They have said that if we take it in the fall, they would provide another test. So retake day is what we've been told up to this point. Now, and one thing I want to say, I've been trying to tell our folks is that tonight, the time now to make sure that people know how you feel is important, because when the general session comes back and the legislature comes back on June 1st, things that are currently in the budget can change. And so we just need to be those types of things where it's so important to have a second makeup test day for kids, and what that does for Tennessee schools as far as ACT scores and kids' ability to go to post-secondary education. That's something we need to fight for. Um, so we've just encouraged our folks to let people know how you feel, right into the commissioner, and they have been hearing that over and over again. We can't give up on that, paying for that, because it's huge. We have a lot of kids on that second test that come up 2 or 3 points. Well, that can mean $10,000 or more in scholarship money for them, or the fact that they may even get to go to college at all, so it's important.
And one of the just the hours, the reduction of the hours, we probably have very few students who the hours has an effect. It's more the individual class and the grade on the required class. Is that right?
That's correct.
Because they probably had 24 coming into this last semester.
Most did.
Most, the vast majority. Okay, that's what I was.
It's we identified a small number, and we felt like there still needed to be some separation in between Elizabethton diploma and a state diploma. So,
Dr. G, sometimes whenever session's getting ready to get started, TSBA will give us some language on how to contact our representatives and kind of write out some dialogue for us. If they do that, could we put that on our social media for parents to contact our representatives, especially requesting that second test?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we'll get some more guidance on that. I mean, it may be a done deal. I know the state board is definitely behind that, and I know that the commissioner is behind that. But I know that in these difficult times, it comes down a lot of times to, we know that the budget's probably passed for this year, but they're also starting to look at what happens the following year. And so where are we going to be, and how much flow through money is going to be there? Now there's kiddies of all kinds of money, different places. It's just, for instance, if you have been following the charter school debate, they did not get a cut in anything, about $40 million. That's $40 million that could be used since they're not starting other new initiatives. That's $40 million that could help us immensely right now to keep the services going for our public schools. So,
Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right. Item on the floor is to approve a resolution for the emergency suspension of board policies during the COVID-19 pandemic, effective only for the 2019-2020 school year. These board policies are policy 4.600, 4.605, 4.700, 5.109, 5.802, and 6.200. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Approve ELA adoption of textbooks benchmark for West Side, Harold McCormick, and East Side elementary schools. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Can we combine J, K, our J, L, and M? They're all textbook adoptions. I'm just curious on that one. Does it have to be separate?
No, that's a good idea. So that would be J,
L
L,
and M.
J, L, and M.
I second that.
Perfect. So we have a motion and a second. So we're combining J, L, and M. Thanks, Danny. Dr. G?
okay, obviously, we want to thank Dr. Newman worked pretty hard on this whole process. You know, they had many meetings, so we appreciate her. We did receive approval on a waiver for our criminal justice textbook today. So that came at an opportune time. And we are going to supplement our budget this year because we're buying language arts. We're supplementing that with last year's budget, we had a bus we had to buy. And so this year we do not have that. So we're putting that extra money into textbooks this year because language arts is always a very expensive adoption.
If I have any questions or comments on either of these? All right. Item on the floor is approve ELA adoption of textbooks benchmark for West Side, Harold McCormick, and East Side. Approve adoption of textbooks for criminal justice at Elizabethton High School, and approve adoption of textbooks CEV media for CTE culinary arts at Elizabethton High School. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. All right, and then we'll move up to K. Oops. Okay. That approved contract renewal between Elizabethton City Schools and Deborah L. Curley Communication Consultants, LLC, which is Sidekick Therapy Partners for Speech and Language Services for the 2020-2021 school year. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you.
This has been a fantastic partnership this year. We thank the board for approving it. The best portion of that is it's paid through other resources, but they have been champions to come on and work with us during this crisis to try to make sure they're seeing children along with our speech and language folks. So we appreciate all their work. They've come. We had a meeting with them recently to sit down and talk about ways that they can improve service for our kids. And they have other services that they could possibly bring in the future. They're trying to look at that to help us out even more, but it has really helped our program at very minimal cost. They've had a couple kids they had to see for certain things that we paid for, but just very minimal. It's been almost free. So we appreciate that. And they've seen many students.
Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Approved contract renewal between Elizabethton City Schools and Deborah L. Curley Communication Consultants, LLC, which is Sidekick Therapy Partners for Speech and Language Services for the 2020-2021 school year. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, then we'll move down. Was that it?
That was it, except information.
All right, so the next regularly scheduled board meeting, I believe, is Tuesday, May 19th. Hopefully we can be together. If not, we will meet as the Brady Bunch. Everybody stay safe and thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you much. Be safe, guys.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
See y'all.